made in their likeness to mark their reign. The object of power and renown.
Et on peut voir aussi l'aspect sacré, puisque chez les Cubains, les rois, c'est comme un esprit. Même quand vous amenez les Cubains ne voient pas l'Indope en tant que statue, ils voient la narration de diminuer le roi qui a créé cet objet. L'objet devient maintenant sacré, comme si c'est le roi lui-même qui était présent.
Prosto nisam mogao da prihvatim činjenicu da šta su ljudi u jednom periodu radili drugim ljudima samo zbog toga što su bili druge vere i nacionalnosti.
And they look forward to trade and doing business, and it's going to be difficult on our behalf.
Trade.
Aside from the talks, there has been spectacular pageantry, and Donald Trump clearly appreciated lavish welcome.
There are those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever. They can never remember anything like it. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
Well, for more on this, we are now joined by
one for now, and that has to do with houses, or rather palaces, that he was building, one for himself, another being built there was for Timur Andich, who is also a longtime friend of Vladimir Zelensky, the man believed and touted in Ukrainian media as his wallet, the man that Zelensky delegated all of his money to in order to grow his finances in various schemes. Timur Andich is, of course, also a suspect in this case and others. Tremendous corruption mounting up to hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially billions of dollars. But Andrei Yermak, for now, being charged, accused of essentially millions and millions of dollars on the construction of 4 mansions, one for himself, one for Timur Mindich. One of those mansions believed to belong to Zelensky himself. We've seen, of course, wiretap publications showing Andrei Yermak talk to the designers, the contractors, and personally oversaw the construction of those elite mansions just outside of Kiev. The bail at this bail hearing has been set to $3 million, which is down from $4 million, which was asked for by Ukraine's special anti-corruption prosecutor. But Andrei Yermak himself at the trial said that, you know, it's a huge sum, but he'd ask his friends.
I don't have that kind of money for bail, so the lawyer will be working with friends and acquaintances now. I deny all charges. I have nothing to hide, and I will be filing an appeal.
Andrei Yermak himself, of course, not a popular figure these days in Ukraine, never a popular figure. He was the great cardinal of Ukraine. It is openly said in Ukrainian media that he almost ran not only the presidential administration, Zelensky's administration, but Zelensky himself, to the point that it was Andrei Yermak who decided on who to assign to what position, what minister to put where, what general to put as head of what law enforcement agency. The special anti-corruption prosecutor also, while reading some of the accusations or background about Andrei Yermak yesterday, revealed interesting tidbits. For example, Yermak's obsession with fortune tellers, who he would consult before any major governmental decision. He would consult with them and you know, again, nominating this individual or that, or this or that, proves how it would reflect on his and Zelensky's future. It's bizarre stuff, but Yermak himself, he, despite the scandalous resignation last when this corruption scandal emerged, he himself has somehow managed to hold on to power, essentially carrying on with the functions and the powers, the reach, the influence of the head of the presidential administration while officially not being so. And that has caused, well, you know, a lot of ire in Ukraine. People are angry. This guy involved in corruption, according to all these wiretap publications, he's still somehow running the show behind the scenes. They were surprised then that he got egged at this trial. Yermak himself maintains his innocence. He had nothing to do with anything, and everyone around him that was involved in this corruption, again, some of Zelensky's closest friends, his associates, his business partners, his ministers, with these people, he had no idea what they were doing and was uninvolved in their schemes. Not a likely tale. And the prosecutors especially believe that, well, that isn't going to fly. Just to remind our viewers, the scandal around Zelensky's administration and again his friends emerged last year when the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, the Special Prosecutors, Anti-Corruption Prosecutors Office of Ukraine, released wiretap recordings of, again, those individuals, the top of Ukraine, and their involvement in corruption schemes still running into the hundreds of millions, confirmed, billions unconfirmed. We haven't heard all the publications, the wiretaps. They said that they would only release those that wouldn't harm Ukraine's war effort. If it emerged that Zelensky himself was involved in all of this, and it is unlikely that he knew nothing about this, of course there'd be a lot of trouble. But for Zelensky, there's people now that it has emerged that Andrei Yermak, the spider that ran Ukraine from the shadows and continues to do so, still maintains power. You will remember, of course, how he leaked to the public after his, again, resignation, that he would head to the front lines to fight in a war that has claimed hundreds of thousands, perhaps more than 1 million Ukrainians. He now says that that wasn't so.
Just after your dismissal, in a New York Post comment, it seemed you said that you were going to mobilize, go to the front, but you didn't do it. Why?
The truth is that I never made any comments. It was my personal correspondence with a New York Post journalist in France, and I said that I would think about it.
He had an unfortunate turn of events, another unfortunate turn of events for Zelensky. Again, mired, though his name hasn't officially appeared, publications mired again in this scandal when it's all his friends that have benefited from these corruption schemes that have defrauded and embezzled hundreds of millions from the Ukrainian state, Western taxpayers. That is aid money, of course, that was stolen. And it is, of course,
Putin said the conflict was coming to an end. He started ramping up the pressure. Moscow, genuine peace talks cannot take place until Ukraine pulls its military from the Donbass.
For a ceasefire to occur and the corridor to open towards full-fledged peace negotiations, President Zelensky must order the armed forces of Ukraine to cease fire and to leave the territory of Donbass.
A key Russian demand since the summer of 2024 met with flat-out refusal from Kiev.
On allegations.
Ex-Chief Staff Yermak accused of money laundering. Former Zelensky aide under arrest.
In November, when he was linked to a multi-million-dollar corruption scandal that hit the Ukrainian leaders' inner circle.
Two more cases through probable one case still inconclusive. WHO confirms case of antivirus.
They recently tested negative for the virus. Meanwhile, the WHO confirms that 8 people in total who were aboard the MV Hondias cruise ship have tested positive for the Andes version of the hantavirus. That's the only strain transmitted between humans.
Xi Jinping tells Trump China could come into conflict according to Taiwan. She tells Trump U.S. China should be partner, not rivals. China will open wider doors to walk to the world, Xi to the U.S. business leaders. Trump, Xi agreed State of Hormuz must remain open. White House announced.
All attempts are negative, but they're being utilized to minimize the risk of the virus spreading and to ensure a swift response should they fall ill.
People can develop lung complications when they become short of breath, and in such cases we need to act quickly, if only to give them oxygen.
22 French nationals are currently under observation in hospitals in Paris, Bordeaux and Marseille, but they will remain for at least 2 weeks, perhaps longer, as the incubation period can last up to 6 weeks. On the reassuring side, initial genome sequencing shows the virus does not appear to have mutated, making it easier to monitor.
There are no indications that this virus is acting different from the known virus circulating in some regions of the world. All sequences obtained to date are virtually identical, which means that there is likely only a single transmission event from an infected animal to a human.
The French health minister reiterated Tuesday that the virus appeared to be under control. At the moment, the virus isn't spreading. I think that's where we start. Now, the government's responsibility is to plan ahead and anticipate every possible scenario, even the unimaginable ones. Scenarios for which France's 18 specialist hospitals are standing by. Angers has even set up a small field ward to accommodate potential patients.
Moroccan forces say second body of missing soldier of United States has been found. News update in headlines. 1 dead, 31 injured in a wave of Russian strike on Kiev. Emergency service announced. Russia launched more than 670 drones. Kiev court orders pretrial detention for ex-Zelensky aide earmarked in corrupt case. News update and headlines. News update and headlines. Trump trip to the Beijing as America.
From NVIDIA, from Tesla and SpaceX. So, in a way, the delegation itself shows where the U.S.-China rivalry has shifted toward AI, chips, high-tech supply chains. By the way, Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of War, and his Chinese counterpart, Defense Minister Dong Jun, were also present at the ceremony. And interestingly, there has been a lot of military activity around the summit. Taiwan has just held war games simulating how to fend off a possible Chinese amphibious assault, firing U.S.-supplied Javelin anti-tank missiles. The U.S. and the Philippines have also held major military exercises in the same region. So, yes, smiles, handshakes, and pats on the back may set the tone inside the room, but outside it, there is still plenty of saber-rattling going on. And then, of course, there is Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Before he posed in the same Nike tracksuit Nicolas Maduro was dressed in when he was brought to the United States. Not exactly a subtle bit of muscle flexing, but as the delegate got closer to Beijing, Rubio changed into a normal suit and more measured tone. Later, he was caught on camera inside the Great Hall of the People, pointing at the ceiling and smiling and intrigued by either the beauty, the scale, or both. For a man who built much of his political career lecturing China on human rights, it was quite a transition.
Do you view China as our top geopolitical foe? Yeah, it's both our top political challenge geopolitically, and it's also the most important relationship for us to manage. I mean, it's a big, powerful country. It's going to continue to grow, but we're going to have interests of ours that are going to be in conflict with interests of theirs. I think the huge source of instability. It threatens to destabilize Asia more than any other part of the world because it's heavily reliant on the Strait. So it's in their interest to resolve this. We hope to convince them to play a more active role in getting Iran to walk away from what they're doing now and trying to do now in the Persian Gulf.
Ahead of the meeting, Xi told Trump that the two countries need to avoid so-called trap, an obvious reference to ancient Greek history and Athens and Sparta. In plain English, Xi's message was that U.S.-China competition does not have to slide into all-out confrontation. War, not exactly live small talk before a summit, but very much on point, because for all the rivalry, the U.S. and China still depend on each other in some very critical areas. China dominates rare earth processing and key supply chains. The U.S., meanwhile, still has a major leverage advanced chip making, which is vital for developing AI and training large models. So some kind of deal is something that both sides may actually want. The bigger question is how long it would last. After all, we have already seen Trump strike a trade deal with the EU, only to raise tariffs again a few months later. So if the deal is reached in Beijing and handshake may be the easy part, the real test is whether it survives the next Truth Social post.
Earlier,
Donald Trump and Xi Jinping wrapped the meeting after 2 hours. Trump, Xi discussed Middle East, Ukraine, Korean Peninsula in Beijing. Trump tells Xi we are going to have a fantastic future together.
Okay, so the 25th anniversary of the fact.
Trump's happy for visit as world at crossroads. China United States, Xi tells Trump's U.S. China could come into conflict if Taiwan issue mishandled. Xi Trump U.S. China should be partner not rivals. China United States, China will open wider doors to the world. Trump, Xi agreed Strait of Hormuz must remain open. Trump, Xi meeting was good, White House says. China Taiwan, Taiwan says China is so a risk to regional peace stability. China Taiwan, Taiwan says United States has reaffirmed its clear and firm support for the island. India, storm lightning kills 89 people in India's Uttar Pradesh. Philippines, ex-Philippine drug war enforcer frees Senate refugee. Philippine, suspect detained over Philippine Senate gunfire, police announced. Peru, Peru's leftist candidate Sanchez qualifies for presidential runoff, officials announced. Peruvian prosecutor seeks prison sentence for leftist presidential candidate Sanchez. Cuba has run out of diesel and fuel oil amid U.S. oil blockade. U.S. jury award $49.5 million in damage to 2019 Boeing. U.S. Senate confirms Trump nominee Kevin Walsh as Federal Reserve Chair. Moroccan Armed Force says body of second missing U.S. soldier found. News updates and headlines.
Face challenges on energy, food, fertilizer, and health security, has also access to finance. BRICS can help them respond more effectively. Economic resilience is also key. Reliable supply chains and diversified markets are its essential components. We must focus on both.
Highly anticipated BRICS foreign ministers meeting is underway right now as we speak. This happens to be an important, a very essential meeting in terms of the fact that it is a precursor to the BRICS leaders summit.
BRICS leaders meet in New Delhi. There are Prime Minister, Foreign Minister of India, Foreign Minister of Russia, and Iran Foreign Minister. BRICS Foreign Minister in New Delhi has vowed in tremor over Middle East chaos. Ukrainian court orders Yermak to be held. Andriy Yermak's bail set at over $3 million. Zelensky's former office head arrested in corruption probes. Breaking news, Ukrainian court order Yermak to be held for 60 days. Andriy Yermak's bail set at over $3 million. News updates and headlines. '26 World Cup, Madonna, Shakira, BTS to headline World Cup final halftime show. Middle East, vessel of UAE coast taken now bound for Iranian waters, UK Maritime Agency announced. UAE denies reports of Netanyahu's visit to the country, Foreign Minister announced. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says UAE active partner in US-Israel war on Iran, AFP announced. Israel Army says strike Hezbollah in South Lebanon. Israel Army says Israel civilian injured in Hezbollah drone strike. Who will get to walk on the red carpet in Cannes Film Festival 2026?
On the red carpet, also journalists, influencers, celebrities, and can locals who manage to snag an invitation. But not everyone walks the same red carpet. Stars are dropped off by taxi right in front of the red carpet. Everyone else arrives on foot, and depending on your badge, you enter at the bottom, halfway up, or right at the very top of the staircase. There are also people whose entire job is to manage the flow of guests. They position people in front of the photographer and then signal when it's time to move along. Though some people don't always listen. The film's cast always arrives last and to the same music. They stop it longer than the other guests, taking pictures before heading up the stairs. Once they get to the top, the screening can start. Finally, to my